Welcome to another episode of Remembering Who I Am. And today's topic is, what is healing? This is a very interesting topic because usually when people think in terms of healing, immediately they're talking about body, healing my body, curing the body. But the healing we're talking about here is not healing of the body, it's healing of the mind that is dreaming a dream of separation. So the body is never sick. What is sick is the mind that believes to be a body, you see? And as long as the mind holds on to that belief, the mind is sick and it needs healing. See, that's why these videos are not for the body, are for the mind. Now, pay attention, okay? If the mind is healed from fear, which last video we talked about what causes fear, if the mind is healed from fear, that can be reflected in the state of the body. You see? So the attention is never in the body. The attention is observing the mind that, as the mind believes to be a body, is in a constant state of fear. But as the mind becomes conscious of the fact that it's mind, then the state of the mind could be reflected in the condition of the body. That's why when I have, for example, I have had someone who was diagnosed with cancer, and of course he had some fear and called me because I'm not going to increase fear in their mind. I wasn't going to try to tell her eat this or don't eat that, or take this or don't take that, because that'll keep the attention in the body. That is something that will happen naturally. She might feel guided to eat something or specifically, or have a particular diet, or take certain kind of either medication or something. That's just stuff of the world. That's fine. I don't even touch that. What I, however, observed was the state of her mind in which usually when I encounter someone with a physical condition, I always address if there's any resentment or hatred or anger or something stored towards something, or someone, or the person itself, and that's where the focus is on. Not because we're using that so that the body gets well, because then we're missing the mark. But we're using that so that that person can take his or her physical condition and for a purpose that it's more conducive to real healing. Because in the end, it's not about if the body stays or not. In the end, it's about if the mind is at peace with itself. You see, if inner peace is there, then you have achieved that's all there is to it. That's what matters. It doesn't matter having a healthy body with a mind that is troublesome. It's much better, if you want to use this term, having a sick body with a mind that is very at peace with it. You see? And that's where always the focus had to be, because otherwise we don't realize that even if the body may change from unhealthy to healthy, if the mind still believes that it's a body, then the mind is still sick, because the mind is suffering from a belief of separation, of scarcity, of fear. And what we're paying attention to is to let go of fear. And again, fear is simply a belief in the mind that says, I am a body, I'm separate from the whole, which is exactly what I addressed in the last video. So, healing, for the sake of what we're talking here, is a remembrance of who I am. And from that space, don't be surprised if maybe the condition of the body may change. I'm going to tell you a cute story. Many years ago, there was a family. Well, husband and wife, and have a son. They were medical doctors in the United States. Well, they were from, I think it's in Venezuela, but they graduated from Harvard University as doctors, and then they came across a teaching called A Course in Miracles, and they felt very moved by the teaching that they felt they dropped their practice and they established a center in Venezuela, in the, I don't know, in God knows where. He passed away already, but I think that she's still alive as the recording of this video. She's very old. She's elderly now. I think her son is still involved. They lived in that place. I don't know where it is. They created over there, and they bring. When people would come there, they will do a lot of emotional healing and all that kind of stuff. And they had a person who came from Spain, who was diagnosed with as cancer stage 4. Basically, she came even in a wheelchair. And all they did was focus on forgiveness. He wasn't focusing on healing the body. He was more focusing on finding the obstacles to love within herself and all the anger, all that it was in there. So at the end of the week or so, she said she seems to be feeling a little better. But again, let's not make an issue about the body here. This is just an anecdote. But she told this particular person, they told him, you know what? I feel that I have forgiven everybody, but my father, I cannot forgive that one. Sorry, I can't. There was a lot of anger that she was holding on to. And he was very tactful about it. And he said to her, you don't have to forgive your father. That's fine, no big deal. In the end, you're not the body. So just let it go, let the body go. He kind of told her in a way that if you don't forgive your father, you're going to die. That doesn't mean that the person would have stayed here longer if he would have forgiven the father. If the person would have forgiven the father and then would be a total peace, and in their script it's supposed to leave this world, it would have left this world anyway. So we're not talking about, don't make an issue about thinking, oh, so if I forgive, that means that I'm going to live or something. No, again, we're not paying attention to the body. You're missing the mark if you're thinking that I'm talking about the body. But this is an anecdote. So, she realized in that moment that either I forgive my father or I'm gone. And obviously she went there because she had a hope to live. So basically that was sort of like a motivation, right? So she started doing a deep inner work in forgiving her father to make sure that she has total forgiveness in her heart. To make a long story short, for the next 20 plus years, the cancer completely left, and for the next 20 something years, she would send them a little card saying, hey, just remind, this is your little miracle, or something like that. Again, because the focus here is not in the healing of the body. The body is an illusion. It's the healing of the mind from the belief that it's a body. That's the only healing that is worth. Everything else is just basically just more confusion. That's all is going to happen, and it's going to create just basically fear hidden in many different ways. And the focus here is complete inner peace, not temporary states of calmness, because that is not peace. The peace that we're talking about here is permanent, not temporary. You see, that's why it's called the peace that passes all understanding. Because it doesn't matter the condition of the body or the world or the finances or the work or whatever, it doesn't matter. The peace that passes understanding is the observer of the movie, not the mind that is involved in the drama of the movie, you see? So the peace that passes understanding refers to the fact that total surrender is like the witness of the experience, the witness of the body, the witness of whatever the body does, the witness of everything. That's how the mind remains at ease and peace. So anyhow, that friend of mine that called me, and she had this diagnosis, and she did chemotherapy and everything. So she did the things that most people would do to address that. Some people may not feel like doing that. In her case, she did that, But the thing about it is that she was able to go through the whole experience very peacefully, because now she was able to use that gift, because it was a gift. You know, when life presents us anything, everything is a gift. It's an opportunity to heal, to get to know who I am. So instead of that being a distraction for her, it became a very empowering experience through which she can start looking really deep and find out where is fear hidden, so that I can really put laser focus on that and just allow to heal. We know, I've said it in many videos over and over again, that because I'm not the doer, you know, that life is the one living me, so the decisions that I seems to be making are made through me. But again, this is the paradox we're going to have to learn to live with. You see, I am very comfortable with it. I don't have any issues with that. I know that I am not the doer. I know that I'm not the one making decisions, even when it appears as if I am making decisions. So I just simply observe life happening, you know, and that's it. So I just want to make that clear, because again, that will be referred to in videos. So when I share with you something like, you know, just surrender, to know that this is just simply pointing to the mind that is dreaming the dream. Because if the mind is dreaming this dream, then the mind is using this interaction to remind itself. So it's like I'm not really reminding you of anything, it's just I'm reminding the mind to surrender. Okay? So the conversation is not between you and I, the conversation is between mind itself. See, that's why this is a monologue and not a dialogue. Although it might appear to be. Well, in this case, it's not a dialogue because you're not talking to me. But you know what I'm talking about, what I'm referring to. So once again, we never lose sight what healing is all about. I never mix the spirituality with the world of illusion. I never do that. What do I mean by that? That I don't bring the belief system as to what to do in the world. For example, some people may feel that the best way to deal with a condition is through doing it very naturally. And some people feel that the best to do so will be with medical, you know. So that's why I say I don't go into which one is better or not, because then that's the mind getting in the way. I just observe life taking me and flowing with me. And if this is supposed to be a natural way, well, then I'll be guided to that situation. If it's supposed to be medicine, I'll be guided to that situation. I'll tell you a couple of stories. When I was in Mexico, the first time I was at Mexico City, that was in 2011, as I was giving some talks, because it was an invitation that came across, and before I even knew it, I stayed 2 months in Mexico speaking. And I started feeling, you know, it's like my blood pressure, you know, I felt, the sugar levels of the blood went up to like 98, which is usually not. I've always been very, never had any issues or any health issues. And I started feeling all this kind of stuff. I didn't know what to do, so we went to a little doctor. They have the farmacias similares, means similares pharmacy. It's by a doctor called Similar or whatever. They have thousands all over Mexico, and there's quite a few other like that they have a little doctor in there. Not a little, like a little person or something like that in stature, you know what I'm talking about. They have a doctor in there. I don't know why the word, I think it's because it's a little pharmacy, so the mind started thinking little pharmacy, little doctor, little patient, you know. So they had a doctor there, and he checked my pressure. I had high pressure, and usually, remember this, Mexico City is, I believe, is 3,500 meters above water, so you can feel the pressure. But it was my first time, and I was staying there for quite for a while, and I went to the doctor, and he took a blood sample. He saw the sugar level was like 98. You know, which is not dangerous or something, but it's still above. It shouldn't be like that. And then the pressure, I was feeling too well, so he gave me all these medicines, right? You see, and in that case, I knew in my heart that it didn't feel right to me, and I said, if there's anything natural that I can take, because again, I'm not against medicines. If you have to take them, whatever, but in my experience, that is something that I have never had to use, except maybe when I was, younger and all that stuff, and I just kind of went with whatever life would tell me. But then after a while, I just I didn't feel like, I just, for some reason, it doesn't matter. Don't tell me why, unless there's something very specific, and I'll tell you in the second story. So so the doctor wanted to give me all these prescriptions, and something in me didn't feel right. So what I did is I said to the doctor, you know what, is there anything natural that I can do? He says, well, then in that case, and then he says, well, you can take, I don't know how to say this in English, cactus or something. There's one particular leaf that you can use for whatever. Anyway, to make a long story short, so I go back home, and the mother of the girl that I was staying with, she said, her mother says, because her father was diabetic, says, you know what, I prepared to the father this shake, whatever, which is, I think you had pineapple, the leaf of that, I don't know if it was cactus or something, it's aloe vera or whatever, one of those things. And I don't know exactly what it was. And to me, I felt like I can go with that. So I was taking that, and we went to the doctor the next day to just check, and everything was normal. And well, I guess that was something that I had to deal with at the moment. Then a few months later, I started getting like bacteria, something that could happen, and I wasn't feeling well at all, and I didn't know what I had. And then she is very big into naturopathy and all that kind of stuff. So she knows a friend of hers who's a medical doctor, but also practices natural medicine, and she was insisting on seeing that woman, and I said, okay, that's fine, I'm open to it again. But the thing is that we tried to get a hold of that woman, and we couldn't. And after 3 or 4 days, I said to her, you know what, I'm tired, I just want to see a doctor, it doesn't matter. So life was naturally, he's taking care of everything. I was surrendering to life. I wasn't saying that has to be a naturopathic doctor. No, I was open, you see, but I wasn't prejudiced against one or the other one. I trust that, life will guide me into whatever might be the best at the moment, right? So finally, when she realized that, we cannot get a hold of that woman, she says, well, I'll take you to our family doctor. And so I went to her family doctor, which is a very loving man. That was a man that I tell you, if you're in Mexico, and I wish I had the number, I will give it to you, because the guy is just, you can go there with the worst thing could ever happen, anything, and he just makes you feel, I don't know. So you see, to me, it was clear that life knows what's doing. So I go to the doctor, and he took care of, checked my vital signs and everything should be normal, everything should be fine. But then he said, let me just do I don't know how to call it in English. They took a Q-tip and they just stick it up here so I can get a little, a little sample. And then they take another one and put it to the top, very back to get a sample. If you're a doctor, you may know what I'm talking about. So that is exactly what happens. I was having that little bacteria thing. So for that, he says, okay, then you will need antibiotics. I was not against it whatsoever. I really felt in my heart that's exactly what I needed. And that's exactly what I did. I just had the antibiotics, injections, five injections every day. And what I would do is that throughout the treatment, I would also take probiotics. I learned that a long time ago, and I just did that. So while I'm taking the antibiotics, I was also taking probiotics, and then after that I took some supplementation for a while. To make a long story short, that was exactly what I needed, and it was great. If I would have tried to do some naturopathy, something, maybe that thing wouldn't have worked. I don't know. But you see, so I am not bringing the mind into holding to any belief system as to what is good or bad or what should or shouldn't do, because then the mind is getting in the way. I'm just observing the natural flow of life. So you see? So I don't know, there's no right or wrong. That's what I said, that my focus is never on what to do with the body, because then the mind is still distracted. The mind continue unhealed. The healing of the mind is the remembering who you are, not the body. The body just a projection that it appears to be born and then it all appears to be gone also. So it makes no difference. But to live a happy and peaceful life, or happy peaceful is basically the same thing, it's synonymous. To live this kind of life is when the mind is free of fear. And the way the mind frees itself from fear is by remembering what or who it is. We said who as if it was a person or whatever, just a saying. Who it is, what it is, it doesn't matter. And this is the whole focus here. So whatever the condition may be in the body, the focus is where there is fear in me, resentment, anger, something. Where is an obstacle that I'm not allowing myself to love myself, obviously, but to love someone or to love? Where is it? And now remember this, I clarified, I believe so, in the very first video, which is what is love, right? Or what love is. I don't know what love is. So trying to love myself, it made no sense. Because if I don't know what love is, I may think that love is to give myself pleasure. What I mean by that is that taking myself to dinner and doing all the things that they said you should do this to show that you're loving yourself. I love myself so much that I'm going to treat myself to this candy. I love myself so much that I'm going to exercise. I love myself so much that I'm going to eat these kinds of food. I love myself so much that I'm going to give permission to do. This is not the love I'm talking about. This is just distraction. This is belief that I'm a body and that this body somehow, this is not what I'm talking about here. What I'm talking about here is to look at the obstacles, meaning where there is resentment, where there is judgment, or condemnation, which I spoke that in a past video. That is what I mean. To me, doing so is all I need to do so that love, which is what I already am, can extend itself. See, that's what I'm talking about when I'm talking about looking where love is not, so that I can allow love to take over. I might have said this in a video before. If I haven't, well, I'll say it here. I think it was Sai Baba, somebody would have, and the Sai Baba I'm talking, in India there's many Sai Babas. I think that might be like for, the Guru Jev, Guruji or whatever. So this one of these Sai Babas, I don't know exactly which one of them, somebody asked him about how to love thy neighbor, or how to love your brother, or how to love whatever. And he said, don't focus on how to love anyone. Better yet, focus on not hating them. You see? Because if I am not hating you, if I'm not resenting you, then I must be loving you. But if I try to love you, if I think love has a particular way, form, or a particular sensation, then what happens when the sensation is not there or whatever, it can be very confusing. To me, to make it easy for myself, the way I experience the most amount of love is when I experience the most amount of peace. To me, that is love. And yes, I can, all sorts of sensations and can come up at the same time. For example, I've been in space that this desire to love everyone, to just hug everybody. I don't know exactly how to explain it, but to me, as I look back, it was not a particular feeling in itself. It was more like a dropping of everything. You see, it's just something I cannot explain. I had an experience once when I had a girlfriend. We were walking at the beach in Lanzarote, Spain. That's where I was living there for about a year and a half, and I was having a lot of inner movement. With a lot of, because in the area of relationships that I had to read a lot of inner work there, and I had a lot of inner movement, guilt, and all this stuff was coming up. And in the conversation, she's very conscious, and in the conversation, she mentioned something along the lines that you're having an issue letting go of who you think you are. I don't know exactly what she said. I wish I remember, because it doesn't have to be remembered. But anyhow, in that moment, something magically happened. The mind disengaged. Don't ask me what happened. I cannot explain it. It's just something that happened. the mind disengaged, and I just felt an overwhelming sense of tranquility, equanimity. Is something that I cannot explain it. And it lasted for about 3 minutes, 3 or 4 minutes. I mean, we could continue walking or so, and then later on, all the sensation came up again. But to me, it was a taste of how the mind can disengage and engage. And I didn't intend or try to pursue to have that experience again, because that'll create more frustration. This is one of the reasons why a lot of times when people have a particular experience, then they try to hang on to that experience again, and then they end up spending their whole life suffering because they find themselves in an endless search. You see, the search for that experience again. And in that sense, I think that Ramesh Balsekar was very clear on that. And he says, you know, well, that's wonderful. That's a taste that life has given you to get to be aware that you are so much more than this experience. But don't make anything special of it, because then you'll find yourself, you spend your whole life trying to pursue that state again, and you're just going to be suffering a lot of times, I guess. So to me, life is very simple. That gave me a taste, an awareness that the mind can disengage. Now I'm just living the life that I'm supposed to be living right now, and I'm not trying to pursue any particular stage. I am not interested in enlightenment. I'm not interested in awakening. I'm not interested in any of those things. What I'm interested is to observe how at peace I can be as the mind surrenders, as life is lived with total, complete acceptance of what is. And I believe in my last video, it was the last video, I spoke about my attitude in life, you know, my 3 attitudes. I'm not going to tell them to you this one, just watch the last video. And you'll see what is the attitude in which I feel that I live life. And that's why it's very simple. So the healing of the mind is what I'm talking about, and for me, healing is the awareness that what I am is not this body, that what I am is that which cannot be described in words, and that's why I don't even talk about it. There's no point. You know, I just go with a simple thing. To me, life is very simple. It's this is it. That's it, and there's nothing else. And becoming aware of that, to me, that is real healing.